think I want to try today is if you've got, I posted this last minute, but if you've got some watercolor paper close by and just your brush and your watercolors, I was sitting there going, I'd really love to just do something to where when I think of the word doodle, I think of pens and markers, and you're just making circles and doodles and stuff like that. So I didn't want to call this doodling. Okay. I don't have a title for it yet. So if something comes into your mind, that would be super great. Here's something along the lines of what I'm thinking, just random kind of relaxing, meditative, just let things flow. And so the thing that came to my mind was breathe and flow. Because when we are relaxing, it's the breath that's so important, isn't it? It's that breath and not holding our breath. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll call it that, breathe and flow. I don't know. But I put this here because I wanted to just talk for a little bit here about color harmonies. And do you know for yourself personally, what might be considered what are your favorite colors to use when you're doing, when you're creating? Do you have what's called a signature colors scheme that you typically use when you create art? I've been really kind of pondering that for myself and thinking, I love all colors, but when I sit down to do something that I really do have just a typical certain amount of colors that I gravitate towards. Now on my desk, I've got colors all over the place here. But if you look at literally, it will always have in it, it doesn't always, but most of the time, pinks and greens and turquoises and blues and yellows, so I like these springy kind of vibrant colors. And you notice even with the zinnias and that, of course, zinnias are beautiful, bright. I love how this almost takes on a rust. This is not rust, but with the orange over the undercoats that I have here of a different color, it takes on that kind of a rusty look. And this is a little bit darker for me than what my taste typically is, but I do like the rich feel of it. So I want you to think about if you were to, choose, this is actually the colors that I used. So as you can see on my little color palette here, all those are pretty bright, colors as far as, except for, this green here is a shade darker. It's more of considered a shade. And then the turquoise here, maybe even the purple up here a little bit, but they're all pretty, springy, summery colors, right? But when you mix them together and start layering them, that you get these different effects with them. So going back to this, I open up these magazines and I keep them around because I love to look through them and the inspiration that's in them. But a lot of times it's just overwhelming for me. And, but I will always gravitate. I always seem to gravitate towards the ones with the pinks, the apple greens in them. And I just tend to pull myself to those. I opened up a magazine. Mom and I were in a bookstore the other day. Like for me personally, this is not my color choices, okay? But they're very appealing to some other people. Some of these muted ones I do like, but there we pop right back into these, and I'm like, ooh, that's what I love. That's what I love. So I guess that's what I wanted to kind of the theme to be today as we're doing this, is to think about, what are some of what would you consider your color? Too dark for me. Which one? The one I said that was too dark for me, Patsy? What's too dark? Oh, I wish we were on Zoom, especially since it's just you and me. We could talk. But we did get on here for one of the members who was having a hard time getting on Zoom. So I'll stay here. Maybe she'll come on. Maybe she won't. Anyway, I'm going to doodle here with you for a minute. And if you've got your stuff, I think it would be a great relaxing thing to do. Not to have a project that we're actually trying to accomplish, but to just, I've got way too much stuff around me here. It's so funny. You know, you have a pretty good sized desk, but what is it about us as artists? I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say everyone, but you know, it's like everything starts closing in on you because you got, and all my perimeter, you know, because you got your brushes, you got your pens, you got your glues, you got your paints, and it's just all starts closing in, and you're like, I don't have any space. Okay, enough of that chit chatting there. Let's see what you're saying to me. I don't mind that this way. Okay, great. I'm having a cup of tea and watching you. All right. Well, that works. That works. I'm going to spritz down my watercolors here. I like this little palette. It's got a good variety in here. Like I've said before, I don't consider myself a watercolor artist that knows all the techniques, but I really love the way that watercolor flows. And I do know too that the paper that we use is super important. This paper, let's see if I've got it close by me. I believe it's 140. I'm pretty sure it is. It's 140 pound paper. I guess the lowest number would be a 90 that you would want to use, but you're going to find so much, the heavier the paper, the more you'll enjoy your watercolors and what you're doing with them. Let's see about this one right here, what this is. This is, okay, this is a 98 pound. See, it says right there, 98 pound. It's the mixed media. You're supposed to be able to watercolor in it, but as I was working on this project, I'm just playing with for myself and layering some different things. That paper starts to get very thin. As a matter of fact, there it is. I kind of up here in my rows, I ended up, you know, the paper ripping because of using and putting and doing too much with it. So the bigger, the more poundage you have. Now your more expensive would be like 300 pound. And if you're going to do a project for somebody and you're wanting to, you know, sell it or something, then the 100 or the 300 pound would be great. I think, hey mom, you made it. Watercolor is challenging, yet you're rewarding. Yes. Okay, what's going to be fun is you guys can sit there and type away and chit chat with each other. Mom, you gave me some paper a while ago, you know, last year, and it was really nice. Was it like 300 pound? Do you remember? Or, because I know you've had some. I'm looking around to see if I've got it here. If it's over, it must be at my other location. Okay, let me go ahead. And if you've got your papers, Mom, what I was just bringing up is I thought it might be a great idea. I know I talked about maybe starting our projects last time when we all talked. I'm still toying with that, going back and forth. I'm sorry to be wishy-washy, but, you know, I just seem to be experimenting a lot lately these last month or so to see what really works with this group and what, you know, what people like. They like getting on and maybe just chatting and visiting. But some want to use this as their creative time. So I'm thinking, okay, either I'll start a project and we won't be able to finish it completely, but I can start it and then you can finish with the videos I have, or we may just give me a title, guys. Give me a title. Oh, 140 pounds. Okay, so it was the same weight as what I'm using here. Give us a title. Like today, I just called this Breathe and Flow. But it's just I wanted to be able to pull out some paper, and if you want to use watercolors or you're using, do something with it that's not going to, you know, be too much thought here and hard work. All right, I'm going to reach in and I am going for a color that, I don't know why, but this is calling to me. You don't even see my palette because I don't have you under. You know what? I'm going to minimize me. That would be good because we don't need to see me. Okay, how do I do that? There we go. Now you can see my palette a lot better. Okay, I'm going to reach over to this, and I don't have my, let's wet the paper. And I also was thinking of coming up with just like a little recipe, you might say, a formula of like, do this, then do this, so that it takes a lot of that thinking out of, when you're just wanting to relax and do something, you kind of have something you can look at and go, okay, I think I'll just follow a few of those ideas and techniques. All right. So if you've got yours, just play for a few minutes and let's chat. Go ahead, and we haven't really been, I've been talking the whole time, but is there something that, okay, now I'm going to go to my favorite green, which always is this olive green, and add that in. Is there something, let's do, a lot of times the women's group at our church they'll every once in a while they'll say, hey, let's share, what is that called, Mom? Let's share some, a happy thought for that's this week. Let's share something that's, been a happy thought for the week. Let's see if I can get this a little bit lower for you so you can see, because the colors aren't, oh, well, you won't see me, but that's okay. There we go. It's going to be 51 degrees today. Oh my gosh, Patsy, it is a heat wave. What are you going to do outside today, Patsy? Have you decided what you're going to do? It seems like it's a good day for being outside, doing something, huh? All right, I'm just doodling here. Adding some colors in. Let's see if I get one that streaks down a little bit. So let's streak right here. Get it to kind of flow down. Create a little path for it. There we go. So while you're doing this and you're sitting there, it's a great time. I was talking to a couple of friends the last few days, and they've got some health issues going on, and visiting with my own brother this morning, and he's fine, but his blood pressure tends to always be a little bit high. And we were talking about breathing, and that's, I think, what led me to this whole idea about, just taking the time to really focus in and do some breathing. I was telling him, I said, I've heard that you can lower, I mean, not drastically, you obviously have to do other things, but you can lower your blood pressure with some deep breaths and opening that up. Patsy says she's going to maybe paint a birdhouse. That would be so wonderful. So wonderful. All right, now on to my next favorite. So my two favorites on here are the greens, and I'm going to be adding this particular blue. I think I'll go in here and just blob it on here instead of just being so careful. They want to mix, that would be great. I've got a daughter and her husband on their way down. They're moving back to Texas. They're moving back to where we are for at least for a little while. So we're pretty excited, right, Mom? We are very excited. So I guess that's my happy thought. There's my happy thought for the day. Okay. I'm going to let that create a puddle. I'm going to pick some of that up. Wipe it off. And let's see if this one, get that to drip down. Create a few drips there. Okay. Now, let's go into a different shade of a blue. Deep breath. Just open up your lungs. If you could, it'd be these colors. I love these colors. We were talking about some of our signature colors. Mom, do you have a set of group colors that maybe are appealing to you, that you find that you go to all the time, that are kind of your, call them your signature colors, if you were to put them down as such? What would they be? If you don't mind, just list that on there. And Patsy, you too. What would you consider to be your signature colors that you navigate towards? Okay. Now this purple's calling to me. What did I do with my big brush? Let's add some water. I'm wanting it up here. Just feels like it needs to go up here. Gonna lift this up. Bring it down in. Let's see what we're saying here. Anybody's got some favorite colors or something of their own? See, when we're on Zoom, we can sit here and you could be doodling and doing your colors, and we can be chatting, and I can hear your wonderful voices. I do love hearing your voices. Ooh, I like that for a second. The way that kind of mixed in there. There's something about, for me personally, purple and green together. I do like it. Does if you mix it too much, it gets to be, brown. So I'm gonna pull out. You're supposed to let these dry, air dry, right? We're gonna cheat. We're gonna get this out a little drier. I'm gonna help it along. And while I'm drying this, I want you to think to yourself, what are some shapes? Like, do you like, organic, like plants and that? Do you like, for me, this is always what I tend to put in when I'm doing something and I'm just kind of doodling and whatever. I will put in mountains. I'll put in maybe some plant life. Those are usually my go-tos. So think about what your favorites are, shape-wise. Do you like birds? Flowers? Green bushes? What is your favorites? So I see here, Mom, the shades of purples with rose and blues with greens. Those are beautiful. Do the back side. Try to straighten that out because it's warping a little bit. I didn't put any tape to hold it down or anything. And of course, I'm using a heat gun, and so that makes it a lot harder. I like to use hearts and circles. Oh, yes. So think about some of the shapes that you like to use, and that's what you would add next. You know, think about, and it would be good to even make yourself a little cheat sheet, a little list, because sometimes when you sit down and you want to create, I think something that keeps us from creating a lot of times is the fact that it's like, I don't know what to create, and you just maybe don't feel like doing the project that we have for the week. I'm gonna try to move this here without getting everything okay wampusy. Dropping my computer. There we go. I need to be able to see this better. So if you can make yourself a little list or something, and you just have a few minutes and you feel like I want to be creative, I actually put together a little bag right here. I'll show you. I put together this little bag. Of course, you can't see as well because I put down the thing, but it just zips, and it's actually one of those Create 65s. I forget the lady, but it was all about, you know, I don't know, scheduling and whatever, and you know, but this has some compartments in it, and it's just a small little bag about the size of what would be a makeup bag when you fly, you know, and you have those little makeup bags that you can put in your suitcases. I like to use bottle caps and dip them in paint and place on the paper. Oh, that would be super cool. Do I have a bottle cap? Let's try that. Okay, I got a bottle cap here. Now, what would be kind of really neat is if I had one of those Pop used to have, you know, but I don't right this second. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use, they say there's always something about adding, I don't know what artist, I heard this one time, but whoever this was, I give credit to whomever. She talked about always adding a little bit of a pale pink into your artwork. If anybody's ever heard that before and they know who that is, you can put it on here. The end of a pencil, the rubber end. Oh, that would be cool too. Yes. Or maybe even the end of my crayon. Let's try that, okay? Let's try that. Oh, you know what I'm going to add? I'm going to add to this some matte medium. I wonder if I want it to be matte or glossy. Let's see what this one is. It's going to be, I'm going to use the acrylic medium. Thin it out just a little bit so it's a more translucent. Yeah, it would be really fun to create together and just see what each other's, you know, what's coming to your mind, because it's more of just, you know, what do you feel like at the moment, you know? And this morning, I really wasn't feeling much like creating. And so I think this is important because, okay. So I'm thinking I'm going to add that little circle there. Add it there. And it's so light, you're not going to be able to see this as well. Okay. Just wipe that off. I've got a lot of paint there for as little as I needed. I didn't need very much, did I? Okay, I'm going to get my markers, my black permanent. And for me, like I said, I want to do the bottle cap. So let's grab this bottle cap. Where's that color? This is my rats. I'm not sure where that color is, but isn't that a beautiful color right there? That would add a pop to this. A little bit of interest. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, there it is. It's the quinacridone violet. My poor lid broke, so I put it in plastic. Just need a titch of that. How we doing? Spray some water on the color. Okay, okay. Which color, Patsy? My pink or this, my watercolors? Which one are you thinking I should spray my water? I should spritz it. Okay. All right, fingers, pick it up. Ooh, cool. All right, now this is where I'm going to go with this. This is what's coming to my mind. Where's my paper towel? Take some of that off. Take a lot of that off. I want it to be. We're going to paint it in. And I'm going to put mountains on this. So I want to add that next before I get going too much. Let's add some water. Get that to flow. Because this is what? This is breathe and flow time, right? Breathe and flow. I like, let's see. I feel like I'm playing Simon Says. How so, Patsy? Says paint. Ooh, that's pretty color. All righty. You know what it feels like to me? I feel like I'm doing that. Do you ever watch or Romper Room as a kid or know what that is? I had to look it up. I thought that was made in the States, but it was actually made in Australia, I believe, if I looked it up correctly. And it's mirror, you know. Okay. All right. Now do a quick dry because my pen's not going to work. Oh, Simon says use a bottle cap. Oh, you know, that would be fun. That would be fun, is to just, you know, maybe come up with a list for that week. I don't know. This may be a stupid idea, but anyway, come up with a list that week of objects, bottle caps, toothpicks, whatever, something that you randomly have around close by. And then everybody does something with it at that moment. Okay, I'm going to make my mountain. I can see this mountain right in here. This mountain ridge. And I was really looking, I was hoping I had some of my modeling paste. I do not have it here with me, but I was really hoping that I did, because then I would use it to put just a little bit on and then put some paint over it, because I think that would be super nice to have that. Okay. Got my sun. I mean, not my sun, but my special moon there. Let's see. Okay, maybe add some down here. Little, I don't know. Start adding some foliage or something to this. My eyes today are really requesting to me that I put on some bifocals. It's almost demanding. These are like, to me, the colors and that would remind me of like a prairie or something. So you see, if you had this little list next to you of ideas or maybe even visuals, like I've got, I don't know where it is right now, but I do have on one of my little journals, I've got little doodle pictures. And then, well, for me, when I sit down and I go to do something, it's like my brain kind of goes blank sometimes. It's like, oh, I don't know what I want to put on there. But if you had a list and you could go, oh, okay, I'm going to try that. Okay, I'm going to put that. You know what I mean? Just something to kind of add to it. Is anybody else working along too? Do you have your stuff out, Mom? Are you creating it all? I know this is last minute. Nothing that anybody had planned on doing. Just put some dots. Don't know why, but let's just go ahead, right? Put some random dots right along there. And maybe some markings, lines. I'm pretty funny as far as myself. I'm kind of finicky. If I'm going to put a mark down, I want it to represent something. I guess it doesn't always have to. I mean, obviously it doesn't have to, but I know I love to look at other artists on what they've done. You know, they'll put different markings and that down, and I think it looks really neat. But when I go to do something, it's always like I don't know. It's got to have a reason or something. So all of a sudden, as I'm doing this, my mind now is I'm thinking about water. Like those don't look like water, but as I'm sitting here doing it, I'm thinking, ooh, this would be really cool as kind of a squiggly, something down here, maybe a little squiggly like this. Okay, and remember, the purpose of doing this is deep breaths. Just let things flow. So let's go back to our watercolors. Where did I put my brush? Cute little watercolor brush. There you are. Let's put in. Now let's go for this color over here, which is almost I don't know. You can't see it right there. Have I got it in the screen enough? Okay. Well, anyway, it's like this blue-green, but it's not it's more green. Okay, take out some of that water off my brush. Should be very just therapeutic. Just to let just sit and let your brush stroke across the paper. And Let it dry a minute, come back, put another layer over it. Whoops, I'm sitting there brushing it on. Thanks, Mom. You like the suggested mountains. Thank you. Okay, I don't know how well you can see. I'm trying to... Yeah, let's go back into these green. And I'm not going to use the same color of green there. So let's go for... Ooh, I'm not a Christmas green, but let's try it. We'll just put little bits here and there. I do like the effect of when you're mixing. Oh, you could probably tell me I don't have the right word for it, but let's see what. It's like a silvery bluish green. Is it eucalyptus that's that color? Can either of you think about what that would be? Like that silvery blue green. Let's go ahead and add this color in. I'm just going to fill it in between. Let it kind of just blend itself off there. Well, this has been fun. It's sure been relaxing for me. My hands shake so much when I try to paint like that. Like what, Patsy? You mean like trying to put the little things on? I understand. Yeah, that might be, yes. But the cool thing about watercolor is you don't have to keep it in the lines. So if it shakes and it goes out, I mean, if you look at mine, well, it'd have to get kind of close. It's not really, but they're outside of the lines. So I guess that's what I love so much about the watercolor is it's so forgiving in the fact that, you know, I'm going to put a layer of this on. It is so forgiving and, well, I guess the way I'm using it, it is. I don't know. Sometimes it's not if you're trying to make something exact. Let's bring that down a little bit. Connect it into this other green. Get that other layer. And see, because the paper is heavy enough, you've seen how much water I've put on this, right? It's working really well with all the water that's being added to it. Whoops, get back into that. So my mountains are up here. I'm going to continue that green across a little bit. Just for the fun of it. All right. There we go. Okay, so we've got just a fun little thing that you can, you know. A little card. You almost have to now spritz them and then let them, you know, put them under something heavy and let them lay flat and dry out so that it's a nice thing about taping those down, you know. Okay. Here's a little stencil. Let's do And we're about at the hour mark. So if you've got to go, Patsy, I know you got things going on. I'm just sitting here playing now. But if you need to head, I know you've got a group that you meet with and stuff. So let's see what happens if I add this little stencil in here. Right over that green. That's kind of cool. So this is my vintage photo. My go-to. And we just added that texture to that. So that's, I'm going to lessen the intensity of that by blending some of the color over the top of it. And I've lost my watercolor by adding that. Now, if you didn't like that and you're like, I really want my color back, let's see what happens. This is all about playing, isn't it? Let's just go in and lift some of that up. Okay, it's not lifting super great, but why not go in, grab that color, and lay it back down. Of course, let it dry so you don't create mud, but let that dry and then come back in with another color. Okay, that is different. And go back. I've lost some of that brown that I originally put in it, so we'll intensify that up again. Right? And this is something I love how Mom she'll have a project going, then she kind of walks away from it. She comes back to it. I know a lot of you do this. I tend to finish a project. I don't walk away and come back to them too often. I like to finish them, move on. But this is one you could sit and play with it and come back and work on it. All right, we'll let that dry and I will post it, but because I'm thinking I'd like to add some white to this little moon here. I'm calling it a moon. Little man in the moon. Okay, you could add some white to this too. I will post this when it's completely dry and I finish playing with it. All right, gals. Thank you so much for joining, guys. It's always good to have you here. I appreciate you.